Shoot.
Have you ever been in a tornado?
I have never been in a tornado, and one of the main reasons is because I've got to be in the studio on the air warning people about severe weather and the threat of tornadoes. So I've chased a few times, but I've yet to see one. I would like to see one at some point in my life, hopefully in a safe location, and a tornado being out in an open field where it's not causing any damage. Yeah, well, there you go.
Okay. What do you have to do in order to be a meteorologist?
That's a good question. You know, there's different ways of becoming a meteorologist. I actually went to school at Penn State University and got my degree in meteorology. Most meteorologists don't do what I'm doing. They're working in research, they're working for the National Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center, the Severe Storms Forecast Center, NASA. So a lot of times they'll choose a different career path. It's just mine happens to be a pretty visible one, being on television.
And part of the reason is because you went to 5 Emmys, because you probably worked really hard.
I did, yes.
How long have you loved weather?
I have loved weather probably ever since I was about 10 years old, 10 or 11 years old. And the storm that probably made the first big impact on me, there was a couple of them. One was when I was growing up in California. We had a snowstorm. And it rarely ever snowed in California. In fact, that's the only time I can ever remember it snowing when I was there. And
I saw that on your
you saw that in my bio? Yeah. And then when we moved back east to Delaware, within 2 weeks of us moving from California to Delaware, we had a huge snowstorm where the forecasters predicted 1 to 3 inches, and instead we got over 2 feet. So you asked me before about messing up a forecast. Unfortunately, I've never messed up a forecast that bad.
When did you know you wanted to be a meteorologist?
I probably knew for sure when I was in high school. Now, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with a degree in meteorology, but I knew that I wanted to at least give television a shot. So I'm glad I did, because I really, really enjoyed the job.
What is the worst tornado you have seen in Dallas?
Well, you know, probably the worst outbreak of tornadoes were the ones that hit us just a couple years ago, back in April. Yeah, 2012.
I love telling that story.
So, but fortunately that day there were no fatalities. So we had something like 17 or 18 tornadoes that day, but no one lost their lives. So we feel really good about that, because we feel like we were able to help warn people.
If we have time, I'll tell you 2 stories, but we have time for 6. What is the worst storm? What is the worst storm you have broadcasted?
The worst one I have broadcasted was when I worked in Washington, D.C. And it was Washington, D.C. area doesn't get nearly the type of severe weather as we do. But on this day, a big tornado touched down about 30 miles south of Washington, D.C. in a small town called La Plata, Maryland. And that tornado stayed on the ground for 75 miles. Wow. And unfortunately, it did kill 6 people.
Wow.
But yeah, I was on the air for that, warning people about that storm as it was moving through Maryland. In fact, it went all the way across the Chesapeake Bay, all the way over to Delaware. It was an amazing storm.
Wait, was that the tornado you were talking about?
Yes. In fact, that was part of the proceeds from the sale of the book that we wrote on Washington weather went to the victims of the La Plata, Maryland tornado.
Okay, so have you ever been in a record-breaking storm?
Many record-breaking storms. Snowstorms, ice storms, hurricanes that have produced record rainfall. So, Hurricane Fran, I've been in, I covered Hurricane Opal's effects, Hurricane Ike when it hit down in the Texas coast.
What about Katrina?
Katrina, we talked about. Rita was a big storm that hit the Texas coast. So there have been many hurricanes over the years that I've covered.
And I think we have time to hear the story. So here's the first one 2 years ago. So we were at Target and we heard of tornadoes and stuff like that. So we went to go pick up my cousins, and then we drove and she was looking out through the window, and then when we walked in the garage, as soon as I opened the door, I heard the siren. And so we ran blankets and we got blankets. Grabbed blankets and pillows. We got the two dogs. One of them was off and they're watching it. So me and him got by the toilet. My cousin was in the middle, and the other person was under the sink. I'm like, that's not a very good idea because when a tornado comes and the sink falls on your legs, it will break. And so I didn't eat lunch until 3 o'clock, and it was too late.
So, but you know what to do when a tornado threatens where you like. Where should you be in your house?
Center part of the house.
In what type of a room would you go into?
Closet,
yeah.
Cellar,
bathroom.
basement.
Yeah, unfortunately most people here don't have basements. So yeah, you want to be in the lowest floor, center part, away from windows, and away from exterior walls.
Yeah, like by the window.
So me and him were watching Fantastic Four, and so he went to go make pizza rolls, and so I started to hear this noise, and I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, sirens. I'm like, ouch, run. So I paused the movie, ran downstairs, and I started crying, and I'm like, where is Daddy? And she was at the gym, and I'm like, scared, but they were in the house, and I'm like, he was out watching the storm.
Oh, Dad's getting called out.
And Zachary was like, and so we grabbed the iPad, and I watched these. I saw the warning that you put in the app, and then so I think I saw your broadcast actually.
No.
Well, that's if it was a bad storm, I was probably on the air for it. So.
I tried to get him to watch. I tried to take him out and get him to watch the weather because he's so terrified of it. He's so fascinated. I'm trying to get him to not be scared.
She just steps right in there and takes the spotlight from Zachary.
There's nothing wrong. I tell people there's really nothing wrong about having a healthy fear for storms. Because it's usually the people that don't fear the storms that get themselves in trouble. They're the ones that say, oh, we're all right, and that they don't respect the power of tornadoes and of severe weather, and they end up doing things they shouldn't do. And most people, unfortunately, that get injured or lose their lives from severe weather, it's because they're not using good common sense and they're not taking shelter when they should. So it sounds like you have a good, healthy respect for weather, and you take shelter, and so you're going to be okay.
One time I don't know what it was, but
Baby, he doesn't have any.
Yeah.
Don't thank you. Yeah. We thank you for your time.
So,
Thank you. Is your do you have to go for a master's in meteorology?
Well, I got my bachelor's degree. I thought about getting a master's degree. It's really not necessary for television. If I was going to do research, which I actually thought about, I actually did a cooperative education program the final year and a half of college. But I always knew that I wanted to get into television, and I was kind of burnt out after getting my undergrad degree. So I went out and worked for a while, and told myself that if it looked like I needed more training, more schooling, I'd go back and.
So then, for TV, then do you have to get a different type of degree, like study for?
Not necessarily. Me personally, I would still recommend somebody, even that wants to get into television, that has a real passion for meteorology, to get a degree in meteorology, and maybe even a related degree. in something else. There's different, some schools have programs that you can actually emphasize certain things, like, television. So maybe you take a couple courses. I didn't have that luxury when I went to school. I mean, you got your degree in meteorology. That was pretty much your only option. And I kind of went out and took other electives. Where in communications, journalism, what have you. I just think that having a good, strong knowledge in meteorology, even if TV is what you want to do, is never a bad thing. I think it differentiates you from others that may go to a different school that
Zachary,
it is.
Zachary.
I will warn you, it's.
Zachary.
It's a lot of math, it's a lot of physics, it's high-level math, high-level physics, chemistry. It's not easy, you get through it, and it's a very rewarding, degree, I think.
What college should I go to?
Well, there's some good ones around here. Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma has a good meteorology program. Texas A&M has a meteorology program. Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin, no, that's a little farther north. University of Chicago. Penn State has a very, very good program. Theirs is considered the best in the country. The scariest, the scariest for me was probably Hurricane Fran, because that came right through where I lived. It was still a hurricane, and we had hurricane force winds for several hours.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Wrap up. Oh, you're welcome. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
I hope that we can do this again.